When the Zelda movie was first announced, I think that there were basically two responses. Some people said, "Great, we've been waiting for this for years and it's finally happening." And then other people said, "Uh-oh." Then it was stated that it was going to be a live action movie, and there were once again two responses. Awesome and uh-oh. Then the director and the producer were announced. Once again, two responses. Awesome and uh-oh. So some people were really excited, and other people immediately wished that this Zelda movie wasn't even going to exist. And now it's been like 4 or 5 months, and there's been little to no news about the movie. So there's not really been that much new information to talk about, but I think that the community has had some time to relax a little bit. So I wanted to take another look at the upcoming possibilities for this movie and what the community has been theorizing about, / hoping for, / just doing in general. So this is a bit of a rant video. There you go, you've been warned. Initially, I was definitely in the group of people that were very unfavorable towards the movie, but now that I've had some time to think about it some more, I'm a little more hopeful now. If it turns out the movie is bad, I will have absolutely nothing wrong with tearing it to shreds, but I hope that it's good, and I think that it's possible that it'll be good. My big concern, though, is just how many things have potential to go bad. So here's a quick recap of everything we know. This is a Zelda movie, and it's live action. Nintendo and Sony are both working on it. Avi Arad is the producer, which is obviously scary on its own if you know who this guy is, because he's been over the entire spectrum from great movies to absolute garbage movies. So that's just a wild card that's been thrown into this whole mess. But Nintendo will supposedly be closely involved in the project, and they were closely involved in making the Mario movie as well. And I've heard that that turned out alright, although I didn't bother to go see it myself. And Wes Ball is also working on it. He's made some okay-ish movies, I guess. The Maze Runner movies were passable, I think. I only bothered to watch the first one, so I don't really know. My point is that the people working on this project from Sony's side are just a little bit scary, but they do still have the potential to do well. We don't know who the actors are yet, and I will say here, for the love of everything that is holy, please stop fan casting for the Zelda movie. I know people have calmed down about this a lot, but for a while every Zelda group everywhere was filled with nothing but fan casts for weeks. First of all, it's annoying. Close to nobody cares about what you think the best actor for Tingle is, and you're clogging up our meme pages. Second, and more importantly, it's going to mess with your expectations, and you're dooming yourself to be disappointed when the official cast is released. Sorry if that was perhaps a little aggressive, but I need to get that off my chest. I generally think that fan casting is bad for fan communities. Okay, so let's get to the still existent conversation topics on this movie. The first concern that is still around is that the Zelda movie is obviously to some degree going to be chasing the success of the Mario movie. So the somewhat obvious concern is that a movie about Zelda, which is a high fantasy series, will be too much like a movie about Mario, which is a series about turtles, mushrooms, and an Italian plumber who throws fireballs. So there's risk for a major failure of tone in this film. I don't think that this needs to be a big concern. Let us not forget that the Zelda movie is going to be live action, which at least to me suggests that this movie will at least try to take itself seriously, and that tonally it'll be a lot less whimsical and comical than the Mario movie. What this concern boils down to is that if the Zelda movie doesn't take itself seriously, then it probably will flop. If it's nothing but jokes and feels like every other action-adventure movie made in the last 5 years, then yeah, we're in trouble. Obviously, the Zelda games have a lot of weird and goofy characters, and I'm not saying that a Zelda movie can't have that. But even the strangest Legend of Zelda characters don't detract from the experience with their odd or silly antics. I'm talking about something entirely separate from that. We've seen a lot of movies recently, and a lot of the Marvel movies come to mind, where half of the potentially meaningful moments are undercut by jokes, and it's hard to take anything seriously because everything is punctuated by a joke. Like I said though, I think that the fact that the Zelda movie will be live action leans towards giving hope that the movie will be at least somewhat self-conscious of this potential issue. The next concern is that the movie is going to be nothing but references to other games. And that one, yeah, that's a pretty valid concern, but I don't have any commentary on it. The third concern is a curious one, and that concern is that there will be a lot of big-name actors in the Zelda movie. Nobody seems to want big-name actors in this movie, which is funny to me because the big-name actors are big-name actors for a reason. They're pretty good at what they do. But also, weirdly, I totally agree. Dead serious, if we get a trailer and someone like Tom Holland is the actor for Link, I'm genuinely gonna be disappointed and might just straight up decide not to watch the movie then and there. We don't need another huge budget blockbuster with celebrity faces all over the characters, especially when that movie is trying to bring a beloved franchise with already established characters to the big screen. Concern number 4 is that the movie is just going to be a cash grab, to which I say, well, it probably is a cash grab. From a business perspective, the Zelda series is as big as it has ever been. Making a Zelda movie at this point,
it's just good business.
However, that doesn't necessarily mean that the movie will be terrible. There have been many movies made that were both financially smart and good movies in their own right. The Empire Strikes Back, Dead Man's Chest, and Game of Shadows come to mind as some good examples of this. So here's fingers crossed that the money incentive won't ruin the movie itself. Another concern is that the movie will be too woke. And yeah, that's once again a valid concern that I am fine sharing here, but I don't really have anything to add to it, mostly because talking about woke culture makes me feel depressed. The sixth issue I've been seeing people bring up is the fact that the Zelda movie will be live action, and a lot of people were really upset about that, although I think that one's mostly died out. I think most of the people who care about this movie are, at this point, fairly content with the idea of a live-action movie, and it being live-action comes with as many benefits as it does downsides. Maybe there's still some people gunning for an animated Zelda movie. Feel free to make yourself known in the comments. This is my concern with the movie being live-action. I worry because of how the Zelda series has a lot of artistic stylization, and that doesn't necessarily translate well into live-action. Now, it could be that they make it work, especially if they're going for more of a feel like Twilight Princess, which was definitely the most realistic-looking Zelda game and strayed the furthest away from pure stylization. However, my concern is more that this is going to be detrimental to the future Zelda games, and that this is going to push future Zelda games towards looking more realistic and less artistic, which I think would be a crying shame for the series as a whole. The next elephant in the room is that video game movies never work. To which I say, no, video game movies almost never work. There are one or two that have been okay over the years, but this is kind of where we get into my hot take. There's a good chunk of the Zelda fanbase that wants the movie to be a retelling of an existing Zelda game, like Ocarina of Time or Skyward Sword. I see this as a huge issue. I don't think that the movie should be based on an existing game, because the precedent set by a game can be what causes a video game movie to fail. A game's plot is usually laid out very differently from a movie's plot, and for good reason. How are you going to make a traditional single-player dungeon-heavy combat and puzzle game work as a movie? My answer is that you're probably safer not doing that. I think that the movie should be about a separate incarnation of Link and Zelda and Ganondorf from what we've seen in existing games. That way, it can tell a story that is compelling within the film medium and isn't held back by the expectations of any of the specific existing games. Should the movie involve a dungeon or two and a few puzzles? Yeah, probably. It's kind of a crucial part of the series, but imagine having to fit all the dungeons and bosses from an existing title into one movie without blurring them together. I quite frankly don't see that happening. Another topic of discussion is that Link probably needs to talk. This is interesting because he doesn't talk in the games. He is canonically capable of speaking, but he doesn't have any recorded voice lines. Now, there is a very intentional reason that Link never talks in the games, and the games need to be able to keep that. But in a movie, Link kind of does need to be able to talk, because he is probably the main character, and if he's not the main character, then he's going to be one of a few. Now, most of the discussion I've seen on the topic would suggest that Link should talk, but should also be quiet or soft-spoken and not have that many lines. I think that this will be unlikely just because Link will probably be the main character of the movie, despite the fact that it will probably have Zelda in the title and not Link. Man, that's going to be confusing for first-timers who haven't played any of the games before. Anyway, I think that regardless of what we want, Link will probably, by necessity, have a decent amount of dialogue in the movie. But as long as the script handles that seriously, that should probably be fine. Probably. Hopefully. Maybe. Alright, that's all the more I've got about this movie for now. We can't say much more than this until we have more information and ideally a trailer, which could be quite a long time from now. I'm personally really curious who the cast is, who's writing the music, where's it being filmed, how's the CGI gonna look, because obviously with all the castles and magic and fantasy races in this series, they're going to need to do some amount of CGI. But for now, we are nearing an end to the things that we can really talk about with regards to this movie, because we just don't know that much about it. If a lot more news comes out, then I may make another update video, but otherwise we can just sit tight until we've got a trailer, and then we can really get into the analysis and the theorizing. Until then, peace out.